Good afternoon, class. My name is Alexandra Carabeo, and I'm going to be talking to you about the local community problem of homelessness in Santa Ana. Homeless are scattered all over Orange County. Since 2015, there has been a 7.6% increase in the homeless community. More specifically, in Orange County, there are roughly 4,800 homeless people, and in Santa Ana alone, there are 1,617. Men outnumber women 3 to 1. In 2015, nearly 2,500 individuals had absolutely no shelter and slept outdoors on the streets. Roughly 1,200 were staying in emergency shelters, and 960 were in transitional housing. Another interesting stat is that 357 were Army veterans. Here I have more interesting stats on Santa Ana's homeless community. About 80% are chronically homeless, which means they've been homeless for 1 or more years. 52% came from outside Santa Ana, and more women are unsheltered than men. One of the biggest problems that arose in Santa Ana regarding the homeless community was the Santa Ana riverbed. The Santa Ana riverbed was a huge problem for the people of Santa Ana and Orange County as a whole. There were about 619 encampments, and it ran along the 57 freeway to the intersection of the 5. Santa Ana and Orange County cleared the entire riverbed by January of 2018. This took an entire year's work to do. As of March 18th of 2018, the Orange County Board of Supervisors approved a $2 million fund to spend on more beds in hotels and shelters. After the maximum stay of 30 days, there were many opportunities for homeless to find shelter. Unfortunately, there were still hundreds of homeless that did not have a bed space to stay in after the 30 days were up. Fortunately, the county made many shelters available for the homeless community after the riverbed was abolished. Roughly 400 beds were available in 2 cold weather armories that open at dark and close in April, the Kramer Place Shelter in Anaheim, the Courtyard Shelter in Santa Ana, and the Baymont Motel in Anaheim, which the county leased for 6 months. Here are a few pictures to show you guys what these shelters look like. The top right picture is the Kramer Place in Anaheim. The bottom right picture is the Civic Center in Santa Ana, and the left picture is the Courtyard Shelter in Santa Ana. Unfortunately, many homeless that have a lot of trauma, like seniors and former foster children, are not suited to live in a shelter with no walls or privacy. Crowded environments freak them out and trigger their PTSD, even if no mental health issues are present. So it was unsuitable for them to live in a shelter the county provided them at the time. As anyone can see, Orange County and Santa Ana's homelessness problem is much bigger than the Santa Ana riverbed. Roughly 5,000 people in Orange County live without permanent shelter, and 100 people stay at the Santa Ana Civic Center every night. Another insane statistic is that Orange County identified 27,000 homeless kids in 2016 and 2017 academic school year. This number is including kids whose families are tripled up in tiny apartments. Also, more than 2,900 kids lived in motels, shelters, or on the streets. Another reason why Santa Ana must continue to fight homelessness is because of the presence of sexual assault in that community. Women in the homeless community are particularly vulnerable to victimization, where they are forced, coerced, or manipulated into sexual activity. According to Brown and Bassick's research, about 92% of a large diverse sample of homeless women had experienced sexual assault at least once in their life. Roughly 13% of another sample reported having been raped in the last year. Many factors put homeless women at higher risk of sexual assault, like child abuse, mental illness, substance abuse, and physical limitations. On top of this, most shelters in Orange County and all over are at maximum capacity, so they must turn down women to sleep in dangerous locations where they risk re-victimization. Our social system for homelessness is ineffective when it comes to protecting vulnerable women in the homeless community, and this must change. Many do not understand how drug and alcohol problems interact with the poverty cycle. This interaction is a huge public health problem. A study made during the 1980s in LA, New York City, Boston, and Baltimore showed that a minimum of 30% of homeless have an alcohol problem and 10% have a drug problem. Currently in Santa Ana, 50.7% report substance abuse, and about 13,000 needles were found after the cleanup of the Santa Ana riverbed. The abuse of drugs and alcohol lead to a loss of jobs and loss of motivation, which single-handedly pulls individuals into the homeless community. The use of drugs by the homeless community often leads to serious physical disorders like cardiovascular disease, liver disease, and seizure disorders. Homeless with an alcoholic problem tend to have a poor immune system and also liver disease. Recent reports also suggest that a high percentage of the homeless community already has HIV or AIDS. With all of these statistics in mind, it is not hard to see why the homeless community that abuses drugs and alcohol have such a high mortality rate. Another health problem that roots from drug abuse is mental illness. About 15% of all homeless people with addiction issues suffer from psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia. And in Santa Ana alone, 32.6% suffer from mental health issues. Along with this huge drug problem in our community, our health and human service systems are not able to deal with all of these homeless individuals. Also, the community mental health centers do not have the capacity to treat these ill homeless. Primary recovery agencies and support systems are lacking coordination with each other and are incapable of providing basic services like social services and vocational training to the homeless individuals. Along with this, the demand for medical services in the homeless population is increasing dramatically, but there is not enough supplies and funds to help in this area. Homelessness has costed Orange County around $300 million by governmental and non-governmental entities in the 12-month period of the year 2014 to 2015. This included hospital fees, non-governmental housing agency fees, other non-governmental agencies servicing the homeless fees, and shares made by the county. Unfortunately, some of those in office, like Santa Ana Mayor Miguel Polito, see homeless as, quote, flat-out criminals and, quote, mean people who are terrorizing the community. And in June of 2016, Mr. Polito advised his law enforcement to harass and get tougher with the homeless community, which would hopefully push them out of Santa Ana and into another city in Orange County, where they could harass another town. If Santa Ana and Orange County want to defeat homelessness, we must change these views. As of May of 2017, the county relocated $23.5 million to the homeless issue. The goal has been to provide shelter. As of November 16th of 2018, Santa Ana unveiled its new 200-bed interim homeless shelter. They also published their 6-point draft homeless plan in February of 2018, which discussed their views on housing, outreach programs, collaboration with agencies, and neighboring communities. It is good to see that this county is making some achievements in the homeless community, but there's still more to be done. There is still about 1,000 people unsheltered in Santa Ana and 5,000 in Orange County. The more the county bands together, the better we are off to fight the war against homelessness.